Yo, what's poppin', Bagel Bros, and welcome back to the Rant Rapids. This one comes from Minnie, who says, I actually have a thing I want you to talk about. I'm going to do that album thing, too. Interstella 5555. The full AMV. It's like an hour or so long. Now, this was posted 6 months ago, because if you've been keeping track, Rants died for a little bit, and then we're catching up on all the ones I should have done half a year ago, and this is among them. Now, I'll admit, I was pretty pessimistic going into this one, because I'm not a big fan of music videos to begin with, and from what I've heard of Daft Punk, or what I had heard of them before this album, which granted wasn't very much, but my knowledge of them indicated that this wasn't necessarily going to be something conducive to an hour of pure music videos, is my thought process going in. However, I was pleasantly surprised, and the reason why is because the music video, I thought that, with the animation style being what it was, and, the type of music they do, I expected a pretty simple plot. And the first couple songs do back this up. The first three in particular, where One More Time, literally the plot is some aliens are doing music, and then they get, so some bad men in masks come. That's the entire plot of One More Time. Aerodynamic, those bad men in masks, they kidnapped the aliens. That's the plot of Aerodynamic. Digital Love. There's this dude, this alien dude, he's in love with the girl member of the band, the Crescent Dolls, as they're later named, if I recall correctly. Right, and he's in love with the girl, and he realizes, he gets a message, oh my god, they've been captured. And he's like, I'm gonna go save them, and then he crashes to Earth. So, up to this point, we're having a pretty simple plot, but as the story continues, it actually starts to get, I wouldn't say complex, because if you don't know, this story is told without any dialogue. It is a purely visual experience with a few sound effects here and there, but even then, extremely limited use of sound effects in order to keep the emphasis on the music and, the story going along with the music, which it does to varying degrees throughout the movie. And so, by definition, I guess, the story does have to be a little more simplified from what you could tell with, dialogue and, a more traditional narrative, right? It all has to be immediately visually discernible, is what I'm getting at. And so it is simple in that sense, but it's not as, I thought it was just going to be the story of, oh, and then we save the aliens from the bad men, or whatever, I thought it was going to be something that was kind of just not much substance to it. But I can safely say there are, actual themes in this, and by the end, I was a lot more fixated on the plot of the movie itself than I was the music. You'll notice as you go through my notes, at first it's paragraphs of, here are my thoughts on the song, because at that point in time, the actual story was just kind of nothing, just kind of whatever. And I can also recall more about the early songs because of this, where I'm like, oh, an Aerodynamic. It has the really cool distorted guitar, stuff like that. One More Time, the auto-tuned vocals are really fucking annoying, not gonna lie. And I complained about that in my notes. Which, funnily enough, a lot of people in the comments, because I watched this on YouTube and I was going through the comments as well to be like, oh, hey, what do other people think of this? And a lot of the comments were like, I came in because of Better, Faster, Harder, Stronger and One More Time. I started with that song and then unintentionally just ended up watching the whole thing and I really loved it. Now I'm like, you came in from One More Time, One More Time is the worst song. It's like, it's the one you start off with, and it's my least favorite of them all. And the thing is, it should be like a very catchy, fun, groovy song, but I already gave the big critique I have of it, which is that it has the annoying vocals, which is weird because the other vocals throughout the album are actually pretty, pretty listenable, pretty nice, right? I don't mind them. They come in every so often in a mostly instrumental album. But for this song in particular, they're just auto-tuned to shit, or at least have that auto-tuned feel to them, that texture to them, that it feels almost slimy, I guess. It's too smooth. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me whenever I hear it. And I heard it there, and I hated it. That's honestly my biggest complaint with any of the songs in this movie, because for the most part, as I went on, they did sort of fade into the background and take a backseat to the actual plot of what's going on, which I feel like is, not necessarily what everyone else will experience, because there are a lot of Daft Punk fans who are like, oh my god, this song is so good, I'm like really into it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, the movie is more captivating to me. Follows these aliens, right? 4 of them get kidnapped, and they're forced by this evil dude, right? To essentially, they're going through the pop experience, right? They're forced to be talents, singing and winning awards, and then there's this other alien who's like, I'm gonna save you because I'm in love with the girl in the band and I want to, get her to be my wife, right? That guy ends up dying. It's like a real tragic scene. There's actually a surprising amount of shit that happens in this movie. For something that is a companion piece to an album, like, they're getting mind controlled, and then he saves like 3 of them, but they have to go back for the girl who is in this competition. They save her, he dies. They eventually find out that the evil dude who kidnapped all of them is he's the leader of a fucking cult. And they have this evil scheme that involves winning, like, a bunch of different awards. And this cycle, this thing that happens to the aliens in the movie, it's this cycle that's been happening continuously. Because this evil dude's like, fuck you, I need to, do my cult shit, which involves continuously getting aliens to win this award, which are then put into the walls of this cave. It's really fucking bizarre. I did not expect the cult angle. And they also continuously offer up the aliens as sacrifice. And, their evil scheme almost ends up, going off without a hitch, but just in the nick of time, evil dude gets knocked into a pit of lava. All his followers follow suit because they're like, brainwashed and fucking, follow the leader, right? We obey without question. If your best friend jumped off a cliff, would you too? The answer for these guys is yes. They literally just straight up jump in after him. Even though he fucking dies, and then a fucking volcano explodes. So much shit happens. And the most interesting part of it all to me, aside from just it, having a lot more substance to it than I imagined, is if you pay attention to that plot description, it is, there are very obvious themes here that are not being talked about much, at least in the YouTube comments, because this guy is, blatantly, he is representative of the music industry. And I had to do research for this. Daft Punk is, they did write the script. Obviously, there's not any dialogue, but still, they wrote the scenario that takes place. And then obviously Toei animated it. And so they were the minds behind the, what literally happens in this story. Which is not a surprise when they depict this villain who is, indicative of the how they at least feel about the music industry, which is, you're being paraded around, literally brainwashed into, participating in this system. Even aesthetically, the aliens have their, they normally have blue skin, but they are, quite literally made to fit in with everyone else by having human skin. It's this sense of stripping away freedom, literally rewriting your mind, rewriting your music. They're winning awards, right? They're making extremely mainstream music. Whereas, in a funny Easter egg, right, Daft Punk is also competing at the competition that, the alien girl ends up winning. And, their music is not necessarily, it's popular, but it's not, conventionally pop music. They do have a very specific sound, and they depict themselves losing at the competition, which to me implies that the alien girl is making something very mainstream, especially because the evil dude, the villain, as you will, he has been winning this same award over and over again. He has methodically, come up with this idea. Him being the mastermind, he has come up with a way to consistently win this award by finding talented aliens and presumably popifying their music. It could also be read as, well, maybe the music is staying the same because he's a talentless fuck, and the alien music is just that good. But there is, I guess, a sense of tragedy when it depicts them having to make music under this man. And I can only assume that it's, instead of them fulfilling their creative passions as they would just under a different guy, it's more so a process of, well, we're, first of all, being overworked, and second of all, we're just having to churn out slop, is what I got from it at the very least, how I tend to read it. And so it is a very, it's not an in-depth takedown of the music industry, but it is very much, that is the subtext, the very blatant subtext that I think you're supposed to read from it. And that gives it more of a texture, more of an intrigue to it. Another moment that I would specifically like to shout out is Short Circuit, not only for being the best song on the album, but for also being the most emotionally potent moment of the movie, where the aliens, at this point, the cult has been taken care of. They need to get home, and they need to, get their skin color back, get all their memories back and whatnot. And so they go and hijack this tower. But on the way, they're caught. They get surrounded by police. The people in the tower catch the one dude as he's coming back down. And they, tase him. And as that is happening, the music is gradually becoming more electric-y, more distorted, more broken. It's a really powerful moment when you watch it, and that was the most emotion I felt during the entire thing. And what I really like about this movie, especially, is the way it ends, where humanity, basically the fact that aliens exist gets exposed, the evil guy's plan gets exposed. And normally, the traditional idea of what would happen if aliens were discovered in media is, well, we just shoot them and dissect their body, obviously. We just fucking gat them. Not here. Actually, humanity is super, first of all, they're pop stars. And so everyone loves them on that front. But also, now they're aliens too. And so humanity and the aliens end up humanity ends up being hey, just go back to your planet. It's fine. We'll help you get there. We'll give you the rocket to get you back to your ship, right? It's gonna be a fucking funky, fresh old time, right? And when they get back to their planet and eventually start playing music again, that's being broadcast to humanity as well. So it's this, this very touching sense of we're working together here. It was just this one guy who was evil. It's not necessarily the entire planet. And the aliens come to that realization where they don't necessarily have to be afraid of every human, because by and large, it's a very hopeful message of, hey, some of us are fucked, but the lot of us, if we met aliens, we'd be like, hey, yo, what's up, dude? We just want to let you do your thing, right? And it's a very touching ending to this movie. So overall, I liked it way more than I expected to. I I'm down with it. Thanks for recommending me this album, Minnie. Yeah, getting good music recommended to me for once. Crazy. I say that like I haven't been recommended good albums before. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.